You're listening to The Briefing, first broadcast on the 5th of September 2025 on Monocle Radio. The Briefing, in association with Addis. Hello and welcome to another very special edition of The Briefing, broadcasting to you live from the Monocle Quality of Life Conference at the Palau de la Música Catalana in Barcelona. Plenty to look forward to on today's programme. Our team of editors assembled here at the conference will take you through some of the highlights of the day so far, as well as sharing some impressions of the Catalan capital and some observations from their stay in the city. Our editor-in-chief, Andrew Tuck, will hopefully be here, as will Monocle's founder, Tyler Brulé. But look who we've managed to hoover up at the start of lunch hour, when normally he's very preoccupied with his big plate. It's Monocle's editor, Josh Fennett. Hello, Josh. How's the day been treating you so far?
It's been a masterful mix only Monocle could have mustered, right, Tom? What an incredible lineup of people wrangled, that you'll hear them across the radio on the day, but really some of the magic of being at these conferences, book your tickets, people, for next time, is being here in the room.
Absolutely right, Josh. Stay with us. I've got a couple more questions for you, which I'll ask you in a minute or two. We're going to browse through some Catalan and Spanish newspapers with our own Liam Aldous, if we can track him down. I think I saw him by the bar, but lo, who is by my side? It's the one and only Ed Stocker. How's the day been treating you?
I love being told that I've been hoovered up. It's a great introduction.
But listen, you've been a very busy man. You've been manning our radio station so far. You've met all kinds of interesting people.
I have. It's been a good morning. Yeah, we've been recording quite a lot of interviews, including the Minister of State of the UAE, Noura bin Mohammed Al Kabi, no less. Just one of the many excellent interviews you're going to be hearing on Monocle coming up over the next few days and weeks.
Ed Stocker will be joining me throughout this edition of The Briefing here on Monocle Radio, so don't touch the dial. Do stay tuned. Yes, a very warm welcome indeed to today's briefing. Lots of friendly faces, old and new, greeting us as we kick off the show here in the Palau. Ed Stocker alongside me. Ed, you mentioned you've been a busy man. It does also mean you've not actually been able to watch all of the sessions inside, and we have covered everything from...
So don't ask me too much about their content, right?
Well, from the sublime to the ridiculous, but there have been some really interesting kind of threads running through all of the panellists and the conversations we've heard. Josh Fennett, as I mentioned, is still with us. And Josh, you kind of set the scene a little bit for us at our special Monocle Daily programme last night up with this amazing view over Barcelona. We're here right in the heart of the city. I think lots of the themes you talked about are things we've already been kicking around in the main conference room itself. What's jumped out at you so far?
I guess the importance of a sense of place. Bringing people together is an amazing thing, and it's a privilege for a journalist to even hope that your story transports someone into a different part of the world, paints a bit of a picture, and takes someone somewhere, and maybe even nudges their opinion. But imagine when, as a journalist, you're able to convene nearly 200 people in a room, some great thinkers, ministers of state, diplomats, to talk about things that we all think are really important. And Tom, I don't think it could be done on Zoom. I don't think AI could do an approximation of it. And it's funny how in a world of, increasingly amazing technology where we're all boggled by headlines about how it's going to change our life, actually sometimes having a coffee with someone interesting, a topic that's been put before you is going to change your life more than anything happening in Silicon Valley.
We're about halfway through the day. It's already been packed, hasn't it, Josh? And the amazing thing about an event like this is the way we cover so much ground, from geopolitics to an incredible Spanish fashion brand. And anything in particular that's jumped out? I don't want you to name favourites, but anything in particular that's jumped out. It can be a phrase, something someone said that you've really remembered, or just a panel you particularly enjoyed so far.
So just my favourites, yeah? Obviously Jordi Labanda is my absolute favourite, an incredible illustrator and commercial artist who has drawn a picture of Barcelona that people have seen all around the world and kind of sketched a version of the city to itself, even when the city felt like it was down on its uppers. This amazing creative legacy of Gaudí, Dalí, Miró.
You've done well on the accents.
Beautiful,
I'm impressed.
Josh. Very good.
Picasso.
Good, correct stressing.
There's an accent to help me out. You know, the creativity of the city has not always been apparent to everyone who lived here. During the Franco regime, the Catalan identity was subsumed under this broader vision of Spain. And Jordi, I think, neatly presented a picture of a city that has long looked to the Mediterranean, a city that has long looked to Europe rather than the rest of Spain. And what's that I see hoving into view? It's a man who covers the rest of Spain well. I can see Liam Aldous on the periphery, chomping at the bit to get to a microphone.
Yeah, Josh, thanks very much for sharing some insights. Liam, why don't do you want to join us at the table? Join us on this current live radio broadcast.
At the top table.
we make it up as we go along, but we sound good at the same time, right?
Liam,
should we paint a picture of Liam? He's wearing a kind of fluted jacket.
You've got some good.
Grab me by the fluted jacket.
And he's got a Monocle yellow toe bag as well.
There's some good textures going on there, Liam.
Is this a surprise dress down, or what is it?
No, we're dressing up. We're waiting to hear from Tyler and Andrew, who are going to be joining us in a minute. But I wanted to get some reflections from you. Obviously, you're based in Ibiza now, but you're a long-time resident of Madrid and a frequent visitor to Barcelona. We've already had a few interesting conversations about just how much the texture, the mood, the fabric of the city has changed on your watch as a frequent visitor here. What have you made of the last couple of days? I think there's this feeling it's changing for the better, but tell me about your experience.
And he wrote a minute about Barcelona being back.
Well, yeah, is it back? Is it back?
Very topical. It's very
phrase?
topical.
Well, coin that phrase, Liam. Barcelona's back.
Look who's
Catch
back.
on.
Yeah, but where has it been? Was the other headline.
Enlighten us.
So I wouldn't say these insights have come from the last 2 days. They've come from like the last year, where I've been doing a lot of reporting, a lot of updating of the Barcelona City Guide, some beautiful reports and guides for Barcelona tourism. And when you do those reports, you talk to so many different people. You talk to architects, chefs, sculptors, DJs, a whole range of people, and you get kind of this narrative forming of what's really going on in the city and what the mood of the city is. And the last 10 years in Barcelona has been a bit of a complicated time. I mean, people remember the secessionist strife, people remember, I can still see the protests against mass tourism. There's been a lot of tensions, but it feels like they've finally shifted past that, and now they're moving into the solutions-driven territory and speaking again optimistically about the city. People are, not groaning about Barcelona. They're saying, Barcelona's, it's not back. Or maybe they're not saying Barcelona's back because that's more of a marketing spin, but they are talking positively about the city. And I talked to someone just before on the sidelines here of the conference, and they were saying, well, I don't know if Barcelona's back, but maybe it's come down back to like neutral territory. It's back to being at zero. And I think being at zero is actually a really interesting place to be, because it's the time of imagining, the time of building, and not the time of looking back, right?
I want to bring in another guest. Enrique Pastor, who of course oversees the beautiful Manera magazine, and he's on stage during this whole day. It's the right moment to bring you in, just because we're talking about Barcelona, whether it's back or not. Liam just wrote a Monocle Minute piece about it. What's your take on the sort of, I guess, the fluctuations of the city? Did it have a down moment, and is it bouncing back? Do you agree with Liam?
Absolutely. I think Barcelona is once again at a fantastic creative moment. So the city has totally returned as a hub of talent, and it deserves to be celebrated. So that it's always, Barcelona has been a capital of design in Spain back in 1980s, 1990s. So especially during the Olympic years, the city became a laboratory of innovation, shaping a global identity rooted in the creativity. So what it's exciting today is that energy is coming back. A new generation of designers and architects is working with the Mediterranean heritage as their foundation: simplicity, clarity, few but meaningful materials, and a profound respect for craftsmanship and the land. So we have a few examples today in the panel. So we've been hearing about Mesura, that this is a design studio that exemplifies this spirit. So they even managed to install in an Aesop store in Barcelona a series of quarry stones once abandoned from the city's buildings. And this is a way of evoking Barcelona's past and rescuing these stones from oblivion, so bringing them back into the light within a spectacular interior design.
See,
So that's-
even the quarry stones are back.
yes.
That was one of my favourite panels, Enric. It was interesting because you had an opportunity for the lucky delegates in the room to tell them a little bit about Monero, and Tyler introduced you, and he said it's the other M magazine that we recommend. But just tell our global audience.
Yeah.
I think a lot of them know Monero already, but give them the Monero 101 just quickly. What is this amazing publication that you're the custodian of?
We have a copy on our desk here.
Yeah.
In front of us.
Yeah, so we founded the magazine 3 years ago. So we wanted to create a platform that connects the architecture, the design, interiors, and even craft with a strong cultural perspective. So for us, design is not just about objects, but about the people, the stories, the geographies, even that give them meaning. So Monero was born in Spain, in Madrid, but always with ambition, looking outward, connecting different creative communities. So in fact, today we publish in Spanish, and in Mexico we have another edition. So being there in Mexico is especially important for us because we feel very connected with the Latin American continent through language, history, and a shared passion for creativity. So it is a region full of extraordinary talent, and we have two options: just to focus more on Europe or focus more on Latin America. So we decided to be different, so there is no one attending and putting this creativity in an international stage. So we're trying to do that, and there's a lot to tell. So we didn't.
It's
have
beautiful. I was
enough
flicking
page.
through it with Liam and looking at an amazing residence that I thought might be in Catalonia, but it's in fact in Tigre, in Buenos Aires. An incredible house. So it's a beautiful magazine. I don't know if Tom wants to jump in with a question.
Well, no, I just wonder, it's interesting, Andrew Tuck has been talking this morning about the power of convening conversations. This has come through every different panel, whether they're talking about design or architecture or geopolitics, the importance of joining conversation and being open to discussion in a more polarized world and so forth. How important is it, I guess, from a creative point of view, I'll start with you, Liam, to be in the room and to be in front of people? It's too easy to, I guess, turn your face away from a challenge, whether that's a difficult conversation or a difficult ideology that doesn't accord with your beliefs. But these kinds of events, this is why Monocle's so invested in them, right? It reveals what you can do, how you can move the needle if you just get in front of people and share maybe a wine, maybe a beer, maybe some food. It remains very important whether you're writing a novella, creating a magazine, or whatever you happen to be doing.
Yeah, it's this importance of dialogue, right? Like a lot of digital communication is just a very loud, sometimes exclamation mark accompanied monologue, and people aren't actually willing to listen. And I just to bring in a comparison, when I said something on social media about Barcelona being back, someone said, "Oh, well, like, what do you mean it's back? Where has it been?" And I was like, "That's actually a great question." I incorporated it in my column, but people are so much more emotional with digital communication because it's so reactive, right? And when you bring people together, there's a whole series of codes and decorum that come with creating a dialogue, and it really is important to.
Well, people have no
together.
attention span online.
Yeah.
That's an issue now.
And even the non-verbal language, so it's important. And I think face-to-face connections are important to build memories because myself, I never remember what I've seen on digital, and especially not even talking about the print, that's my business, but I do remember more a picture when I see it on paper, and I do remember more things when it's a face-to-face connection, so the link, it's more profound.
So you're saying you're going to remember this day for the
Yes,
rest of your
of
life?
course. I'm
Had
looking at you.
it been online,
your
it would have
eyes,
been straight in and out.
I mean, don't get me started as well with the digital communication. We don't even know if we're talking to real people with the amount of bots, which outnumber the amount of real people online. So these events where you're seeing actually a real human, you're seeing a verification of a real human being, and you know that the debate is actually grounded in something is important.
Well, this is the amazing thing. You see people literally leaning in their seats to hear conversations, physically doing it, trying to get into that moment of intimacy, and you just can't replicate that online. Last quick thought from you both. Enric, we've still got a busy afternoon. Any things you're particularly looking forward to? Not just that nice chilled carver at the end of the day. What else have you got in your notebook to watch out for this afternoon?
Yeah, we're doing a short masterclass about lighting with two spectacular local brands that are Santa Icole and Marcet, that are the ones who design the most iconic pieces that are part of the history of Spanish design. And I think it will be very interesting, their point of view. So they're quite different. One is more an editor, the other one just builds themselves the lamps.
It's great to see them together as well. Like,
yeah,
very unusual.
yeah,
I think
very
only Monocle
unusual.
could bring them together at the same panel.
That's the good part. So we're very looking forward to hear their thoughts about
I think that's going to be illuminating, if you'll forgive the pun. Liam, very quickly, what are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to revisiting the La Fábrica, the beautiful cement factory by Ricardo Bofill tomorrow. I was just talking to Jaime Rubiano, who's the head of imagination he has an amazing job title at Bofill, and he was telling me it's transformed a lot. I haven't been there in quite a few years, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it's like now.
I've never been. I'm looking forward to visiting for the first time. Thank you very much, Liam Aldous.
Thank you.
And seamlessly, we've got a transition.
Well, just wait. Listen, I've got an idea for the transition.
Okay, go on.
Why don't you keep our global audience appraised of the latest news headlines?
Would you like me to do that?
Our next stellar talents gather round the mics. Over to you, Ed.
Vladimir Putin has delivered a stark warning to the West over Ukraine. The Russian president has rejected the possibility of a so-called reassurance force where a ceasefire to be agreed. The US President Donald Trump, in his latest headline-grabbing move, is to rename the Defense Department the Department of War. The name, which was used in the 1940s, would be a secondary title for now, given congressional approval is needed. And finally, the world is continuing to mourn the death of fashion designer Giorgio Armani at the age of 91. Tributes have poured in from around the world, including from Italian leader Giorgio Meloni, who said he knew how to make Italian fashion shine. Those are the day's headlines. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you very much indeed, Ed. And lucky us. And lucky you, global audience. Two more talents gathered around the mics. Sophie Grove is here. Natalie Theodosi is here. They've been working hard already this morning. But, there's no sleep for the wicked. Sophie, let's start with you. You got straight into some really thorny, complex, global geopolitics at a, frankly, unacceptably early hour this morning. But an absolutely amazing panel. Just give us a quick flavour of the nature of the conversation.
I mean, an incredible panel, and Gorana Gachik, who is our security correspondent here at Monocle, kicked things off with this incredible introduction about why geopolitics and macroeconomics really do affect us and our quality of life on an everyday basis. Be it a kind of quasi-war footing that we're on, disruptions to deep-sea cables or cyberspace, or that feeling of security and that feeling of confidence, how that influences you on your everyday sort of stroll down the street. But then we moved on to some other things, and one of the most interesting moments for me was talking to Alicia Wellness from the Carnegie Foundation about information ecosystems and how vulnerable we are really when it comes to information, communication being hijacked, misinformation. But also she was talking about how, really that idea of community is about national security as well, knowing your next door neighbours, just even reading your village newspaper is a cohesion that gives us security. And she thinks that we've underestimated it, and governments have underestimated it. So we need to kind of bolster that. And I think that's one of the threads that's running through this morning's conversation anyway. So it was really thrilling to have that in the security panel.
Yeah, it was an amazing panel. And another incredible thing about the Quality of Life Conference is the sheer diversity of topics that we cover. And Natalie, you covered something completely different. You were talking to Adriana Dominguez, who of course took over her father's cherished label, Adolfo Dominguez. And she's really taken that label places, quite literally. It was really interesting she was very eloquent, telling us about the Mexican market, for example. Tell us a little bit about your conversation.
Yeah, I think she made my job so easy because, like you say, she's so eloquent, and she's one of those few leaders that she's both CEO, but also, as she said herself, an artist at heart. So she's very involved with product, with the creative process. She spoke about giving her design team space to design from scratch, to operate like a luxury brand and really gather inspiration. They have these sessions called Agora, where they're really gathering inspiration, spending time with artists and creating really high-end collections, but then also translating that in a more accessible price point in a different level of the market. And I think that's why they have succeeded to not only become a household name in Spain, but they've had incredible growth. I mean, in Japan, from the very beginning almost of their history, but also Mexico and all across Europe. And I think she's had quite a tough job recently in turning around the brand and rejuvenating it, but now she's on her path to profitability and growing it even further. So she's a real success story, and really interesting to hear how she balances it all.
Because didn't she say they originally had like 3 boutiques and the prices were much higher, and they made a conscious decision to sort of change that model completely and become a much more accessible brand, right?
Exactly. She thinks in terms of a pyramid, so that high-end line still exists, but there's also much more accessible and still without sacrificing quality. There's a lot of capsule collections and a lot of innovation with using materials that are made in Spain and also in Galicia, which is where her family is from.
Sophie, I can imagine some listeners may say, oh, that was a really interesting take from Sophie on this geopolitics panel, but I'm losing the thread to how that informs quality of life. And yet you've already been talking about local communications, social equity, social capital, and that sense of shared community. Maybe just pop your confect hat on, or your confect beret, if you will, and just remind us why, to interrogate all of these different things as you do in every issue of that magazine. You need to talk about geopolitics. You can't look at all these things in isolation. Tell us a bit about how that informs that worldview as well, and what Confect strives to do with its various editions.
Well, I think we often really delve into history and cultural context and take people to the provenance of a brand, be it that or be it somebody's inspirations. We'll go on a road trip with them, we'll discover all of their inspirations along the way with an amazing photographer. And I think it's that rigor, but also that idea that we're looking for that joyous moment and that transformational moment, things that you can really gather and collect, and memories that add that sense of joy to everyday life is really part of the philosophy of Confect.
That's beautiful. I'm going to immediately go and subscribe again right now. Thank you very much indeed, Sophie and Natalie, and our lucky delegates here in Barcelona. We'll be hearing more from them a little later. Listeners, we've tracked him down. The ever elusive
Mr. Tuck is here.
Andrew Tuck. And Andrew, can I introduce you by saying the man with the walking stick? What on earth? Have you twisted your ankle? What's going on?
Hold on, you did introduce me as an ancient relic this morning, which
that is not what I said. I said beloved architectural treasure.
Okay, we sound like an old doer-upper. We're like a slightly decrepit house. But anyway, yes, we just had a session about the walking stick, which is such a funny thing to alight on, but it was about the notion of dignity through design. And I had fun. But one of the things was that Tyler did shout, "Get on your knees," which...
The first time he's done that?
Well, hold on. It does need some explaining, otherwise there'll be a court case. But yes, and do you know what? I obliged.
If we want to bring in... talk about design, but with basically no dignity whatsoever, can I throw over to my good colleague Nick Manise, who's also joined us around the table?
I feel like this has been a trend throughout the day. Just Tom Edwards, which for context is sitting off stage, just taking pot shots at people as he's introducing
mostly
them to
you, I think.
It is mainly you. It's mainly you, Nick. But in all seriousness, we've had an amazing morning. We were talking with Sophie about thorny geopolitical topics, but we've had some wonderful detours through the world of design. A highlight for me was an absolute treasure trove of architectural, I'm going to say genius, Nick, plus you on stage. But tell me a little bit about what that amazing trio had to say, because it just dove deep straight into so many of the values that underpin Monocle's design sort of ethos.
100%. I was lucky enough to be joined by Andrew Tuck on stage. I mean, I had to kind of shepherd him through the conversation, but I think we got there in the end. I can take pot shots too.
Oh, God.
But, we were lucky enough to be joined by 3 amazing architects. Fergus from Field & Fowles in London, Jeanne from Studio Nida, bouncing between Lome and Brussels, and then
Marcos from
Missouri. And we just had this amazing spread of I guess they're all kind of emerging architects. These are the people that could potentially be the greats in years to come. But what was beautiful in uniting their work is this really strong appreciation and commitment and value placed on honouring a sense of place. And that's not just in terms of responding to the environmental qualities of the landscape that you're building on, but also the cultural qualities, and how does that extend from whether you're designing a home or an exhibition, and we kind of had a showcase of that. But there was also this amazing discussion around luxury. You know, having Andrew on stage is a luxury. There we go. I can also do compliments. But I don't know your take on that, Andrew. The fact that they were kind of looking at craft as something to be treasured.
Yes, craft to be treasured, but then it was amazing that Jean said that actually when you come from Togo, craft is like something you have to do every day, because if you want a new table, you go to the carpenter and they'll make you a new table. If you want a new dress, you go to the dressmaker and they'll make you a new dress. So everybody finds their inner designer. So she was good at breaking down the barriers about that. And I thought the other good discussion on that panel was like, that all of these people are interviewing their clients and they're saying, are your ambitions good enough for us to take on? They don't want to do shit work. They want to do stuff that's going to make a difference. They want to be engaged and changing the world a little bit. So they all said, look, actually when we meet with people, if they're low on ambition for what they want to do, and if they're going to cut corners, then it's like, it's not for us.
It makes you wonder if we could have had a similar policy if Tom Edwards would have snuck through that ambition and quality in the interview room.
I would have sailed over that like a Daley Thompson. Pole vaulter reference there for anyone who...
I mean, I loved another chat, which was Tyler and you had with the UAE's Minister of State for Foreign Affairs. I just found her so eloquent in what she was saying, and that's one of the amazing things, isn't it, Andrew, of having a live in-person event like this. You get to see the whole character of a person, something you might not appreciate just reading about her in print or something. The fact that she was there in the room and expressing herself that way.
Well, what's remarkable is that she is a diplomat, and she was very diplomatic, and she was careful about what she said. But she made clear that in the world of diplomacy there are also red lines. So the UAE is good at speaking to everyone. They've been a key talker to both Russia and Ukraine. They're involved in the prisoner swaps. They've made those things happen. They're supplying aid to Gaza. But she said, look, if Israel wants to take the West Bank, we've made clear that's a red line. So they're open to conversation. That they listen to people with respect. They try to get their heads around other people's perspectives. But in the end, even she said there are some clear red lines for them.
Last question for you, Nick Manice. You like to get your shirt off at Monocle events. Obviously, you've got half a day left to go. Will you be repeating that this evening?
Well, this is the concern, and this is an ongoing discussion. I encourage our listeners to pick this up around Christmas time. But I'm currently on I've been going to boxercise classes, and Andrew's very keen to point out they're boxercise, they're not boxing. So there's no actual contact. But I'm being whipped into shape at the moment.
You're saying you want to show off your six-pack later?
No, I'm saying I don't think I can take off my shirt if I get too ripped. So this is going to be the marker. I think tonight, if the shirt doesn't come off, just know that there's an absolute treat underneath it. But
right,
only a few eyes.
On that note, Tom Edwards.
Yeah, that wraps up this topical news discussion programme. No, I joke, of course. Nick Manice, Andrew Tuck, great to have you with us. Ed, thanks so much for co-hosting today's briefing. Are you having a jolly time?
I am indeed.
You've got a playful look in your eye. I don't know what else you've got up your sleeve.
Okay, I don't know how to respond to that.
I'll come back and check in on our
pure joy
desk a little bit later. That is all from this fast-paced special edition of the briefing. I've got to get back to my special Garrett and introduce the rest of the day's conference. This programme was produced by Ed Stocker and by David Stevens. Our studio manager was the ever-patient Steph Chungu here in Barcelona. Thanks to Flynn and the crew manning the controls back in London town. The briefing's back at the same time on Monday, of course. That's noon London, 1300 if you're in Barcelona or anywhere else on CET. But from me, Tom Edwards, and the crew here in Barcelona, goodbye and thank you very much for listening.